30 seconds. 20 seconds. No, till we're live. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Stand by, Mac. 3, 2, 1. Roll, Mac. Stand by, camera 3. And stand by, Ashley Jones, 2-liner. Seven, 6, 5, 4. Stand by, 3, 2, 1. 3 mix. Keep the music up.
Hello and welcome to our final episode of the Connected for this series. And I hear you ask, where is the set? Well, we've decided we're going to bring you behind the scenes to find out exactly what happens here in the control room, for the program at Connected. And Mr. Nicholas Roach is our director. How are you, Nicholas?
I'm very well, thank you, Ashley.
Not interrupting you, I hope?
Absolutely not. I'm not doing a thing, actually.
Well, that's what I've heard about directing, but I'm not going to say anything about that because the hard work's done out in the set. We know that. But tell us just briefly what you are all about here in the control room.
Basically, the producer designs the show, puts it on paper, and it's the director's responsibility to execute that show and coordinate the crew in the control room and make some television.
And what some fabulous crew we have here, Nicholas.
We do. Going to take a little wander around.
I am. So Ross behind camera is going to follow me carefully around, as I will not talk to the DA, because one of the laws, I think, Nick, we can safely say, is DAs are so focused on keeping watch of the time that they don't speak. We don't ever interrupt DAs. Then over here is the graphics area. Don, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Ashley.
At least you'll talk to me.
Oh, certainly, I'd love to.
And of course, with the graphics, that's making sure that we know the names and all that kind of
Who's
stuff.
coming up next? Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay. And Jackie is tucked in there. How are you, Jackie?
Good, thank you.
And Jackie's looking after the auto cue, so I know what I'm going to be saying. Although, yeah, that's right. Lexi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
That's good. Looking after the camera control area and all of our inserts for content.
Yep, I play all the videos so they go to the vision switcher and go live.
Okay. And Jack, who I know can possibly hear me because he is the audio man, better be able to hear me. How you going?
Good, thanks, Ashley. How are you?
That's good, good. And of course, we've kept you very busy here in the audio side of things as well.
Yeah, pretty busy, pretty busy.
That's good. Well, what we're needing to do now is to take a look down memory lane of what we've been showing you over the last 25 episodes. And with this particular program, we're going to take a look at some of our great music, and we're going to look at some of our local talent. So let's take a quick look at what we've had lined up for you.
Roll, Mac.
Here I sit in my room. I'm lonely and thinking of you. 42 long days at sea. 42 days, too many for me. Not a single day goes by without you somewhere in my mind. But I know it won't be long, and I'll be back with you at home. I'm 15,000 miles away from home. Tonight I'm lonely, but I'm not alone. All my family and my friends are gonna be there in the end. Mama, Christmas, this year I'm coming home.
Tim O'Brien was our first musical performer on our show, right back on episode 1, which aired on the 6th of May this year with his version of Bohemian Rhapsody. How did you first get into the musical world?
It was due to the top 40 radio of the day. We're talking about 1970, 1971, when I was 10, 11 years old. Just hearing the sound of pop music on the radio really just turned me on. And what it was about it was nearly every song I heard on the radio featured guitar, and the 70s was just such a fantastic era for guitar music. Nearly every song that came on had a great riff, and a lot of they weren't difficult things to play, so young players could get into that very quickly. There was a very specific piece that really hooked me in. You'll probably recognise.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I got you into it, huh?
That riff just went straight to the heart, and so what that sound is, I want to make it. Yep. And then that was Daddy Cool, but at the time it was also Deep Purple, and all those great riffs, and they were all brand new at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
So it was everything on the radio at the time. It was pop music. It was whatever sold. So it wasn't differentiated like it is now. So you would have Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin. The next track would be Cat Stevens and James Taylor, and it was the singer-songwriter era, and all that stuff was just so fantastic for me.
Okay, over to you. Thanks very much. And Michael Feeks bringing us his South African-inspired song called Mukutsi on the 30th of September. Some great numbers there. Australia's Got Talent 2012 semi-finalist Mark Lowndes visited us here in the Springfield studio to perform his recent single released from the album Redress. Singing Afternoon, this is Mark Lowndes.
Just another second of my day, like a feather, I slowly drift away down these streets that seem to have no end. These pavements take me to my best friend. All favor seems to be around me when you're nearer, and I just can't control. I need you closer to me. Skies are blue, sun shines this afternoon. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-da-ba, this afternoon. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-da-ba. Feeling closer, closer to your smile. Every step I take, I know it's worth my time. Down these streets that seem to have no end. These pavements take me to my best friend. Oh, favor, you know it seems to be around me when you're nearer, and I just can't control. I need you closer to me. Sun shines this afternoon. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-da-ba, this afternoon. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-da, on this afternoon. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-da-ba, this afternoon. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-da-ba. No gray clouds in my sky. Ba-ba-da-ba. Skies are blue, sun shines this afternoon.
We have some fantastic talent right here in Southeast Queensland. Mark Lowndes there from the 5th of August. Plenty more to come on the show. That's including media personalities Bruce Page, Mike Higgins, Liz Cantor and Spencer Howson. And later we take a trip down memory lane with Bernadette Manac. Or should that be Judy Garland? Stay connected.
1, roll the Mac. And stand by 2. There we go.
Welcome back to Connected. Top news anchor Bruce Page came in for a chat. We found out about his early days in radio and how it all began.
He said, "You like music, don't you?" I said, "Oh, yes." He said, "Go and talk to this fellow, Wilf Robertson." Now, Wilf Robertson was the boss of the local radio station in Maryborough 4MB, which was one of the very earliest radio stations in Queensland, so there's a bit of history about it. And Wilf employed me as a trainee technician announcer. And when I managed to blow up the control panel, which had valves in it in those days, they dropped the technician part of it. It just became an announcer.
They saw that wasn't a real skill set for you.
That I think they anticipated I wasn't all that interested in soldering things and so on. But it was a great training ground. I mean, back in the day, before everything became digital as it is today, all your ads, all your Beck's ads, and we don't do Beck's ads anymore. They were on little 45s.
Yes.
And we had 3 turntables. There was one there, and one behind. And your fader was there for Q Q button was there for this one, there for this one, and the one at the back was round the side here like this. So it resembled very much what it must have looked like when it first started. There hadn't been a lot of money spent on capital improvement.
What, in your opinion, makes a good news anchor?
I think you've got to have a bit of ambition and ego, but it helps to have some humility and some ability. But I think humility is pretty important, because if somebody allows you into their home, 2 or 3 times a week, or if they watch the Bulletin 5 nights a week, you're in their home more often than children who've left home, their best friends. So it becomes a relationship, and you need to respect that.
Do you ever tire of presenting the news?
I tire of hearing about people doing stupid things to other people. I get a bit disappointed with that. But I think that's human nature, and I don't know that that's going to change. There's always something good. I mean, you will get these stories of armed robberies and ram raids and so on, but then there'll be a little gem that pops up of something that's quite remarkable, some development that's happened, or some young person who's done something remarkable, or some old person who's done something remarkable. And I look at that as leavening of the load, leavening of the loaf.
And another news presenter and host from Channel 7 and later from Channel 10 dropped from the small screen and literally took a sea change. I asked him what he's been doing in more recent times.
Yes, it has, and it's changed more than a career path. It's changed my whole attitude to life, really, because I spent 3 years doing chemo and radiation and then a bone marrow transplant, and it was a grueling experience. But one thing that I learned in the hospital ward was that everybody has a human story, and there's a lot of sharing goes on in the cancer ward, because death is all around. You know, there are people leaving the ward in a not alive state quite frequently, and so you get to learn to live with this. And I was in there for 8 months having the bone marrow transplant. But I think now I value ordinary human beings probably more than I did when I was working in the media, because I had to be very, not very, but you were forced into a position of being somewhat detached, because it was very exhausting to be signing autographs or doing promotions all day, and so you tended to withdraw a little bit for your privacy and protect yourself and sort of try and keep your energy.
We certainly wish him all the best. Mike Higgins there a young lady who loves surfing but found herself working in her other love, the media. We know Liz Cantor from Great Southeast and 7 News.
Later I was surfing for Billabong and travelling the world.
So it was not planned, obviously.
No, my main passion when I was younger was always the entertainment industry. I was really interested in acting and even behind the scenes work, and I did a little bit of stuff for Channel V and that kind of lifestyle television presenting, and then fell into surfing. And so it was actually quite a difficult decision at the end of the day whether to stick with the competitive surfing or go back to university and do communications.
Sure.
So,
and a tough gig there.
Yeah, I know, tough.
Yes. So in terms then of going around the world, what was the sort of the highest level you attained?
Made the world qualifying series, so I was never on the actual mainstream world tour.
Yes.
But I actually got to travel with the world tour competitors such as Lane Beachley and Lisa Anderson and some of our greats. So it was an amazing life experience.
Yeah.
And I've surfed everywhere from Cornwall in Europe in freezing cold water that's so cold it literally burns your skin, to places like Maldives and Hawaii that are just beautiful and tropical.
Yep.
So
you've seen it all.
I have been really lucky.
Well, a guy who loves entertaining and informing Brisbane is our friend Spencer Howson from 612 ABC Brisbane. He's been at it for 8 years and still going very strong. We chatted to him about how he does breakfast each weekday.
Every single day I get a taxi to work, I get a bus home. Every day the taxi driver, usually a different driver, asks me the same question. And I always say to them, well, you know, you get up, because cabbies start at the same time. I say, you get up at this time as well, but you work 12 hours. I get home by lunchtime. I can't complain. It's okay. No one wants to get up at 3:20 in the morning, but I get the afternoons to myself, so...
What about the weekend? Do you still wake up early?
No, I don't. No, this is always what people think, but no. 10 o'clock normally. The weekend just gone, I was still in bed just before 11 o'clock on the Sunday. I can assure you, no problem sleeping on the weekends.
Okay. So now in terms of the breakfast program though, it's a very busy shift for any radio station. And of course being number one, and I know you don't go crying about that.
Touch wood.
Yeah, but it's been for quite a while. What is it you think is the secret to what you're doing?
Well, you can get information from so many different places these days. You can get Hollywood goss on the internet, and our strength really is local news, timely news. So when you wake up in the morning, has something happened overnight that you should know about? So this is what we do. So local, timely. Brutal is a word that we used within the Breakfast Show team. If something only requires 3 minutes, we only spend 3 minutes on it. We don't harp on and on and on. And so we have a very, I guess, tightly formulated philosophy in our minds. And every day, even after 12 years of doing it, after the show, we sit down, we analyse, we're critical of each other, and we say, how can we do it better? We never say, right, we've been doing this for 12 years, see you tomorrow morning at 5, let's all go home at 8 o'clock. Sure. So I think we take it very seriously.
Well, it was wonderful to get on the road and do several shows from our Toowoomba studio. We met some fascinating people. We were around for the recent Carnival of Flowers and generally had a great time in the Garden City. We were entertained by some wonderfully talented people. The student production team from Toowoomba captured the sights and sounds of the district and brought together a wonderful snapshot of the city. Toowoomba boasts spectacular and diverse musical talents. We were lucky enough to see some traditional Japanese music. And Bernadette Manac took us back in time to perform a 1954 classic from A Star Is Born. She transformed into Judy Garland and sang The Man That Got Away.
Night is bitter, the stars have lost their glitter, the wind grows colder, suddenly you're older, and all because of the man that got away. No more his eager call, the writings on the wall, those dreams you dreamed
Still to come, we catch up with some sci-fi enthusiasts. And we'll also talk with Ipswich Mayor Paul Pasali and have a special tribute to our season finale. More great moments from Connected 2013 coming up after the break.
On, roll it. Cue.
Possibly one of the most famous mayors in Australia, Ipswich Mayor Paul Pasali was very passionate when he talked to him just prior to the federal election and around his work to ensure that local authorities got a fair go. Here's what he had to say.
It's about politicians understanding what they get elected to do. You know, we hear that we're going to hear all these policies and things that happen up until, you know, to September. The person that gets elected will get elected, and guess what they're going to say afterwards? Oh, we don't have any money to do this, we don't have... Well, I'm sick of it, and so are Australians. What we want this election to be about, show us the money. Show us exactly what you're going to do at the end of September. We want to know how it's going to affect our quality of life and how we're going to get this country back to being the #1 country. And so I can enjoy quality of life, so I can, you know, go to Brisbane without having to worry about the Clem 7, the Clem 8, the Clem 9 tunnel, all the other pieces of infrastructure. It's about sharing the load in Australia, and places like Ipswich is prepared to share the load, and so are many cities around Australia.
And certainly, you know, as we indicated before, the growth in the city is putting that pressure on, and you need that funding. Are they listening in terms of places like Ipswich to recognise that we need that money now?
They are listening, but they're not listening. What they're doing is giving us the money, but it's catch-up money. What they've got to do is put us ahead of the pack. The growth is happening faster than the funding. And you look at a place like Australia with all its resources, we tend to give people handouts instead of hand-ups. And what we've really got to do is start focusing on a business plan for Australia, not a plan to get politicians elected. You know, I say to people, if you want someone to bring down a budget to get re-elected, find another mayor. My job is to make sure the next generation have jobs and the capacity to bring up a family.
Well, from the passionate Paul Pasali to an equally passionate group, this time all about things sci-fi. Possibly the most quirky but fascinating guests on the show.
I love the concept of it, I love the stories, and I love spaceships because I build my own spaceships and that. I've always loved it ever since I was a kid. Just got wrapped. It gets me sort of out of this real world into another world, you know.
Yep. So there's a little bit of escapism that happens in there.
Yeah, you know.
And before I come to Morph, I just want to come back through to Tracy. Billy will ask you. So Tracy, away from the sci-fi world, what is it that you do as a day-to-day job?
Well, I have two jobs. I do two things. I'm a professional embroiderer, so I run my own small embroidery business. And I also work part-time for Partec, which is a plastics training institute.
Well, that's handy.
Yes, it is. When we're talking about weaponry and props. We actually call them props because the students can't be involved in the making of any weapons at all. So, yeah, so they do props.
Okay. And what about you, Billy?
I'm a sculptor. I sculpture things out of clay and that, and I paint as well. I do sci-fi, I do landscapes, you name it, I do it.
If we can get down onto this little unit down the bottom here. Billy, I understand you made this?
Yeah, I made them out. I make them out of Alcala cornflakes packets and wheat bix packets. So I call them, cereal wars.
Yes.
The drawings I've done, you know, I always doing sci-fi drawings and that, and some for the club and that, but sometimes I like them that much, I'll build them.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Well, this time next week we kick off our brand new series of Good Business. With a fresh new look, this series is our biggest yet. With more, here is our host, Kathy Davis.
Thanks, Ashley. We're busy here in production in the Good Business studio with 10 shows on their way, each highlighting a unique aspect of business initiatives within Australia. Join us this same time next week for Season 5 of Good Business. Hope to see you there, and back to you, Ashley.
Thanks, Kathy. Good Business airs next Monday at 7:30 and Saturday 4:30 right here on 31 Digital. Well, that's just about it from us, but before we go, the team and I would like to thank you for watching tonight for our special look at our very first series of Connected. If you'd like to see any of the series shows again, simply head off to our webpage. Go to the w's.connectedtv.com.au. We leave you tonight with the pictures of USQ third-year media students working throughout the series of Connected at our Toowoomba studio and here in Springfield. The song is Dana Hassel and her track, Come to Sydney. Thanks for watching and stay connected.
Lovely. Thanks, guys. Good show. Good show.
Come to Sydney.